Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. As you see my sign at the beginning of this broadcast, it says, I am going to change the world and make it beautiful, with or without your support. That's a hell of a statement, huh? Bold as can be. I'm going to make the world beautiful, with your support or without it. With your support would be much easier. Without your support, it's going to be a heck of a task. But it's something that if I'm living, I'm going to try to do. Now, initially, I didn't think I'd have to be alone. You see, the vision that I have at the time that I'm making the sign, it's relative to my relationship with the power that I can't see and I can't touch and I can't feel. But the evidence is always there. And I thought that most of the people, or a great percentage of the people, had a relationship with that same spirit. Time has passed, and within that time I found out that they might have a relationship with the spirit, but it's not that same spirit. And I'm not trying to say, or am I going to say, that the spirit that they have a relationship with is bad. I'm just saying it's not with the same spirit that I have a relationship with. And that's okay. You see, what I have recognized is that, for the most part, people want a relationship with that crowd that's that's really crowded. So crowded that they have a mass of people. I think they got a gate that they go through, and it's very, very wide. They say it's a certain kind of people go through that gate, but it's a whole lot of them that go through that gate. Now, where that gate leads to, I have no idea, nor do I want to. But I know these kind of people, they have big churches, and they must be doing really good. They must be doing really good because they give their money to the preachers, the pastors. They buy them jets so they can fly all over the world and tell the people about God, tell the people about Jesus. I wonder what that is about, because the people here who are buying the jets and paying all the money in the tithes and offerings, they are doing that as if they got it made now, and they're doing that as if they are purchasing a way into the afterlife. If it's a heaven, buying their way in. Because the things that you would think are required of people who have a relationship, I'm just speaking from my perception now, would require some action other than buying jet planes and putting your money in the luxury lifestyle of the minister or the pastor. But this is what they're doing. And so I'm thinking, what is it doing to travel across the country, the world, setting people up the way that the people who are paying their money is set up? And I kind of got an understanding of what's going on, because there's a preacher, I believe he's the pastor of the 700 Club, I believe. If that's not Jim Baker was PTL, I believe. Praise the Lord. Yeah, so this was the 700 Club. The pastor has testified that he had an experience, and his experience took him to a situation, put him in a situation where he saw God. Saw God. I think that's what he said. But if he didn't see God, he saw the President of the United States sitting on the right hand of God the Father. Now, that's a strange thing. The Trump that I know gets on television and he spews out hate, spews out lies, degrade people, talk down to people, shows no respect, humility, and honor for anything other than himself. And this pastor saw him sitting on the right hand of God the Father. Now, can you imagine what a preacher like that is telling congregations and have been doing it for generations almost? Saw this liar sitting on the right hand of God the Father. And you ask, and I ask, why do people act the way they act? I see why. This is the kind of stuff that they have been taught. But I understand that. And I'm saying to the people, white people, I know you are afraid of blacks. You have the education of that blacks are monkeys and they're inhuman. And that frightens you. I understand that. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of television. And back in the day, most of the television programs, a great percentage of them, was about Westerns. They wanted to indoctrinate the people about how the West was won and how basically the nation grew. They mentioned the fact that there were people already here. They called them natives. They called them Indians. And they would oftentimes have the military in a confrontation with the natives of this land. And they always depicted the natives as barbaric, running around making woo 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 sounds, fighting with sticks and rocks called bow and arrows against guns and some kind of machine guns and horses and wagons. I mean, a superior army. And they made these natives look so inhuman and barbaric till me as a black person, and I'm sure many folks, white people too, saw the Indians as something you better fear. And that justified killing them and putting them on reservations. I remember once when I was in Mississippi growing up, my uncle was taking me for a ride down in Lexington, Mississippi, someplace, or somewhere there was a reservation. And he mentioned to me to keep my eyes open and watch for, because I might see some Indians on the side of the highway. Now, he was probably just telling me that, knowing that I probably hadn't seen any Indians. But the thought that I might run across some Indians, these Indians that I have seen on television with John Wayne and David Crockett and being woo, and oh man, it scared the mess out of me. I was not looking to see an Indian. In fact, I was trying to get on that floor and hide in that car so an Indian wouldn't see me. Now, that's how that game worked. And white people have been fed that game all their lives about black people. So, white people just can't embrace us like we would love for them to. We can embrace white people even though we know they treated us as slaves, even though we know they call us monkeys, because we know all of that is false, fake news. But there's something in us that make us not want to attack them for this. And we don't want to kill them. I saw a picture on Facebook or something today, and they had this black girl who was going to school down in the South, and every day she would go to school, you would have all of these white kids on the sidewalk and all in her face bullying her, saying nasty things about her, and she would just go back and forth to school every day. She had to go through this here harassment, but she did it. And the message that was being made is that she endured that. every day. She endured it. But when white people get bullied, they go and pick up guns and go back to school and kill up their friends or kill up the bullies. Now, the point was being made that if somebody's acting like an animal, if somebody is seeming to be inhuman, it's not the black people, it's the white people. But I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to me, I understand why you are like you are. And I understand why we are like we are. But that's beside the point. The point that I'm trying to make is that as a human being, I recognize that regardless of what you think, you are a human being as well. And I don't care what you try to put yourself up and say, I'm talking to the white people now, when your belly gets crunchy, you need some food, just like I do. I know you do. I know that you need shelter, because sometimes it gets cold, sometimes it gets hot. You need some kind of shelter. And we are not the smartest people on earth, and sometimes we need to be educated. I do, you do. It just helps us to be better at whatever it is we want to do or given to do. And I also know that sometimes we get sick. I get sick and I want a doctor. And that makes me think that when you get sick, you want a doctor. And I look at the world the way it is, and I see that in order for us to get these things as we need these things, we have to have money. M-O-N-E-Y. And what is money? It's a tool that's used by human beings so they can get the things they want, need, and desire. Now, the problem with that is that there's not money for everybody. Some people got so much money, they don't know what to do with it. Some people got a little money, the ones that giving it to the preachers and stuff and planting seeds. And some people got a little less money, and some people got no money. So if you got no money, that means you are hungry, you are shelterless, and you kind of dumb because you can't be educated, you can't go to school, and you're probably unhealthy because you can't access the doctor, and you are probably out of a job. Now, why is that? Because there are only so many people that are allowed to work, and the others they don't need. Why? Because it messes with the bottom line of those who are in control of the money and trying to get as much money as they want. So when I think about that situation like that, I don't know what you think about and how the spirit that you are associated with touches you. But for me, I think about all of the jobs that exist. And I think that those jobs are an outward expression of resources that have been made and provided to humankind that humankind did not create themselves. They are resources whereby the things that we need, want, and desire that are created, they come from these resources. These resources didn't come from any human beings that I know of, no one that I can understand. And so I'm thinking, if they didn't come from human beings, if they didn't come from men, white or black, or women, then they don't own them. And when I look at the fact that they do legally have ownership on them, or whatever the situation might be, I recognize that it is just a system that's designed to allow that. Just like the system is allowed to use money to make it available to you so that you can access those things that you need for survival or just need or want or desire. And I also see by this kind of mechanism, this kind of system, it kind of gives certain people control over other folks' lives. It gives them the power to manipulate them. Give them the power to cause them to hate. We hate. To cause them to be bigots. We are bigots. The nation is full of bigots. Cause us to some to even lie and cheat and steal and kill and terrorize and go into war. All of these things because of access to the money. Let me say it again. All of these things to the access to the money. So when I think about peace and prosperity and happiness for everybody, the number one thing that comes to my mind is get rid of the money. Get rid of the money. Recognizing here again that no human being truly owns, they didn't make oil. They didn't make gold and silver and diamonds and other minerals that are wherever they are. They didn't make them. They just discovered that they were there, recognized that they were there. And because of the makeup that they have, they were able to recognize how these resources could be used based upon human need. And the ability to do this, as far as I can see, came from whoever made man. And since everybody got some part of something that would allow them to participate on earth in these bodies at these times, to engage in the creative process of extracting from the resources and playing a part in the making thereof, whether it's related to food and clothing and shelter, or digging bridges, or filling ditches, or building buildings, or schools, or planes and cars, and extracting oil from the earth, extracting gold and stuff from the earth that could be used to do the many things that they do. All of this is done by humankind. It's not done by the spirit that I talk about. It's done by humankind. So humankind is already doing the work. Their motivation today is to make sure that their needs are met, but since there's a stipulation that say they got to have money, they are not taking a job that they love doing. They're taking whatever job they can get and hoping that they can get a job that pays good money so they can have some of the benefits. And here again, this kind of system leaves so many people out. That is why I'm talking to you about getting rid of money and allowing all people who are healthy to work, to have a career. And when I say have a career of your own choosing, that means to take that stigma away from work. You know, when we say work, we're usually talking about doing something that you really don't like doing, but you do it because you want the money. So when you have an opportunity to have a career of your own choosing, that you don't call that work. Athletes who love being an athlete, they don't call that work. They call it a game. And they get paid good for playing. So now you are having a career of your choice, which means it's not work. It's a game. It's a thing that you love to do. And now, ladies and gentlemen, because you have taken the money out of the game, you have the needs and wants and desires. That's what you are creating as a group. As an individual, you don't do this. You just play a part. But as a group, you create all of the things that exist. And because you respect one another's duties, one another's responsibilities, one another's life, then you recognize that all of you who played a part in the creation of all of the things that exist, you have partnership with it. You have ownership with it. In business, they call you investing in it. And because of your investment, you get something out of it. Some revenue, some money, when they've got the bottom line. But here, you don't get money. Your investment makes you part owner. Let me say it again. Your investment, your gift, your talent, your career that you engage in and participate in makes you part owner of everything that exists. So you don't need money to buy what's yours. You don't need fees and taxes and loans and debts and credit. You don't need any of that stuff. You now are an entrepreneur and you play a part in the creation of all of the goods and services that are needed by humankind. That's the way I see it. And since you have done this, you have no reason to be selfish. People got what they want. They got access to it. Not partly, they get as much access to it as anybody else. They can use it when they get ready just like anybody else. And it doesn't matter whether they dig ditches or clean toilets or build buildings and bridges. Every last one of them have access to the same peace of life, the same prosperity of life, the same happiness of life, because they create it. They create peace. They create prosperity. And they create happiness. Vacations, all of these things that you talk about dying, going to heaven to get. You get it right here because you have learned the secrets of life. You learn that the people who are making money are using it to distract you, to put them on a pedestal where they can play God. And all of us are just peons. So when I come to the people of the state of Minnesota and say I want to be your representative, I want to represent the people on this line. When I say in 2020 I want to run for the presidency of the United States, it's on these lines. The lines that say every last one of us, whether we used to hate each other, still hate each other, whether we think black people are monkeys and black people think hunkies are hunkies, all of that stuff will dissipate. It will pass away when your life door is open and you can see life. You will forget about all that stuff. I'm saying these things to you, ladies and gentlemen, at a time when I have a young daughter. On this coming Sunday, May 3rd, she's graduating from high school. And I only mention that because I was 50 years old when she came into this world. And I never thought I'd live to see this happen. Especially back in those days in 2000, I was constantly going to jail for violating the status quo, for violating the stated order. And the whole purpose was to let you, the people, know that my concern is you. That I recognize that there was abuse going on. For instance, you got people who you got parking meters. You go to town or someplace, you got a parking meter. Some people got a lot of money because they benefit from the system, and they can park their cars and stay all day. People who got a little money, if they can take a chance or risk to go to town and they put a quarter in the meter, they might not have but another quarter or maybe nothing to put in the meter. But they got a right to stay downtown just like the people who got money. It discriminates against the person when they, well, I gotta go because I don't want a ticket. I gotta go. And somebody else can stay downtown all day. That's discrimination. And what I do would stay all day if I want to and get a ticket and go to court and tell them I wasn't paying that ticket because I've been discriminated against. And sometimes they let me go, sometimes they put me in jail. It didn't make any difference to me. For me, I had to stand up for what I know is right. And I did that because I wanted you, there would come a time when I wanted to tell you that I wanted to represent you. And I wanted you to know that I have paid a price. I have lived a life that perhaps you haven't lived. I've struggled. I've put myself against the odds to let you know I'm not fake, to let you know that I'm real. And I did this not only for myself, and God knows I did it for myself, but I wanted you to know who I am. I wanted you to know that I would stand up for you. Just ask my family. Well, my daughter is graduating, and I'm so glad. Well, I got, 2 more days? I haven't made it yet. But I never thought that I would live, and it's been 18 years since 2000, and guess what? I haven't been back in, well, I got out of prison in 2001, but I haven't been back to jail yet. I think the only thing I've gotten was maybe a speeding ticket, and they didn't even show up in court then. I didn't have to pay it. So you might think they got me in line. They rehabilitated me, but that ain't the case, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that there is no more need for me going to jail just yet. I got the records. I got the evidence for you to recognize that I've been there. But no need of me going there if you don't care. No need of me going there if it's not going to mean anything to you. I paid the price. But now, as I've given a recognition to my young daughter, my oldest daughter, she's 50 years old. And at a late day, she went back to college, went to medical school, Chamberlain Medical School for nurses. And this year, she recognized and found out that she had a third level breast cancer. And she didn't panic. She kept on going to school, going to classes, and she graduated. I was at her graduation, May 3rd. I believe May 3rd. And it was amazing. I mean, I saw her with all of these other nurses getting their degrees and going through the motion, you know the process, you can imagine what it was like. But when they got to her, I've never seen that kind of love showered on a person that you weren't even related to. I mean, it's like something I've never seen before. All of the nurses, all of the staff, the faculty, they would just shout. Like you could feel the love that they had for her, the respect that they had for her, that she was walking across the stage, getting her certification, and didn't let that fact that she had stage 3 breast cancer affect her. And she's taking chemo. She is a magnificent young lady. Angie, Eureka, you are my baby, my first baby, my first baby. And I'm so proud of her. And when she was there, ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine, I tried to hide it, but I was crying like a baby. I was so happy. I was so happy to see my first child who had decided that she had a dream. And she jumped out there in that river with that boat and she traveled it. And that cancer might have came up and presented itself before she got to the end of the road. But she didn't let that stop her. And so now she is got her certification and she is going to beat this cancer. And the people there at the graduation, all in the gym, they showered so much love on her. Ooh! But it was that kind of spirit that she wasn't going to give up, didn't even think about giving up. It's the same kind of spirit that I got, that I say to you, I'm going to change this world and make it a beautiful place for you, with or without your support. But I want you to know, it's much, much easier with your support than without. I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your time. Once again, this is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. And when I say basic human rights, I'm talking about the right to life, and that life in peace and in prosperity and in happiness. And that is everyone. Everyone. Not just black people, white people, men, women, Americans, but everyone. And it might not happen, but in my heart, and in my mind, and in my spirit, it's the sweetest thing I know. It's the sweetest thing I know. And I'm amazed, I am amazed that you are connected with a spirit that will not allow you to see that, to want that, and to give of yourself to get that. I really am shocked, but it is what it is. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.